Mirror black, darkest night.
Grant me vision, give me sight.
Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage and Cold Case is a brand new Malayalam language supernatural thriller that was just released on Amazon Prime. It marks the directorial debut of Tanu Balak and it stars Prithviraj Sukumaran as the police officer Satyajit and Aditi Balan as the investigative journalist Medha, who are both trying to solve a mysterious murder case. For the majority of its 2 hour and 20-minute runtime, which I can already say is way too long for this story, Cold Case not only unfolds as two parallel narratives with two separate main protagonists, but it's also at home at two different genres. We have Satyajit on one hand, a man of logic, and his movie is a typical police procedural, in which he slowly gathers more clues and insight, starting with nothing but the skull of a young woman. Medha, on the other hand, is the protagonist of a supernatural horror movie. She just moved into a new house with her little daughter Chinu when a series of very mysterious and spooky events starts to happen. We get these two genres, a police procedural and a supernatural thriller, and you would expect that they begin to merge pretty soon. But that's not really the case here. For the majority of the film we jump back and forth between our two protagonists and between these two genres. Of course, we soon realize that both of them are involved with the same case, but they don't cross paths for a very long time. Which I think is kind of a missed opportunity. Both characters, Satyajit and Medha, are mostly reduced to move the story along, but there's not much of a character arc for either one of them. We get some background information for both of them. Satyajit has a problematic relationship with his father, and Medha got a divorce and is looking after her young daughter on her own. But both aspects seem to be just there to mirror a little bit of the actual murder case. But the characters don't really have to grow or go through something truly life-changing. Which in Medha's case is a little bit strange, because the things that happen to her and her daughter are truly spectacular. And from a filmmaking perspective, those supernatural elements were the most fun for me. They were presented in such a loud but also atmospheric way that I wish to have experienced this in a huge movie theater. The camera work by Girish Gangadharan, who also did movies like Jallikattu in the past, is one of the clear highlights of the film. Cold Case is definitely able to create some really creepy moments. The camera work, the colors and lighting is pretty good, and combined with the music by Prakash Alex, it becomes a very effective and also fun horror thriller at times. It's also far from subtle, but I enjoyed this over-the-top approach quite a bit. It borders on being totally ludicrous, especially when Medha seeks help from a blind occult medium, but I can't deny that I enjoyed these campy moments. Though in hindsight, it's also true that the movie throws very much in your face, just for the sake of being creepy and mysterious. The deep well in their garden, the daughter's little doll, it's kind of supernatural horror tropes 101, but at least it looks and sounds nice. It's a decent thrill ride, but it also promises a little bit too much, because in the second half, it's not really following up much on that whole horror angle. Without spoiling much, but there's really no big threat anymore at all, and it's just about solving the mystery. And by trying to solve this puzzle, Medha's approach isn't really all that different from what Satyajit is doing. So when the movie at the very end addresses this conflict between logic and faith, between the rational and the supernatural, it's not really fleshed out that well throughout the film. And the problem with Satyajit's character is that he never gets challenged on his perspective. He's just doing his job while all that supernatural stuff is happening in Medha's story. And it's also not up to the audience to decide if the supernatural stuff is real, because in the world of the movie it obviously is. There's no question about it, and therefore it's a bit strange that Satyajit never gets fully introduced to this aspect as well. As far as his storyline goes, it's captivating enough, and Prithviraj brings enough charisma and screen presence to make it work. But it's also not really a movie that gives any actor anything particular interesting to do acting wise. Of course, a mystery thriller like this is also only as good as its mystery, and unfortunately the whole revelation is a little bit disappointing. Both how it is presented, for example with Satyajit giving this rather lackluster and at the same time exaggerated PowerPoint presentation, but also when it comes to the story itself. As the movie progresses, we learn more about the life of the murdered woman, but it never gets truly moving, and the reveal of the killer and how everything concludes is also rather uninspiring. So in German I'd say, Cold Case ist ein mittelmäßiger Mystery-Thriller, den man sich aufgrund einiger doch sehr atmosphärischer und toll anzuschauenden Passagen durchaus einmal anschauen kann. Leider fehlt ihm für mehr aber auch die nötige Charaktertiefe, und seine zwei Genres bringt er auch nie wirklich interessant zusammen. I give Cold Case 6 out of 10. It's more like 5.7, but I don't do that. Alright, that's it. Like always, comment below and let me know what you think about Cold Case. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Letterboxd, and also on Patreon, simply at The Jimmy Cage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.